This is Swim, Success with Music. Yo, what up, music fam? This is Walt, and you are listening to Swim, Success with Music. This is a podcast for singers, songwriters, beat makers, music producers. We are about the music life, and the goal here is to help you grow your career from a technical standpoint, from a sales standpoint, from a brand standpoint, from a creative standpoint. Pick one. We got you. So, hey, man, my name is Walt. I am the music coach here on the Swim podcast. And today I'm especially excited about who we have on the show. And this special guest, his name is Judah Holliday. Judah Holliday. So I want to give you a bit of an overview of Judah's background here in just a second. But before we do that, I want his work to speak for itself. So before we get into a brief introduction of our special guest, I want you to listen to a bit of his music here. And this song is titled Good Life. Again, this is Judah Holliday. Check it.
City lights on Friday night. Shake the floor. Here we are now. Here we are now. It's gonna be alright. This is the good life.
All right, man. So that's Judah Holliday. Again, that's Good Life. One of the things that I love about having music guests on is that we can learn a huge amount from people like Judah. And we're going to go into quite a few things today that will help you in your music career, especially if you are trying to get more traction from a creative standpoint. You're trying to figure out your marketing. You're trying to figure out your sound, your message. Maybe you have some issues with, your level of skill. Judah's going to actually tackle all of that and more. So I highly encourage you to listen to the entire podcast because Judah is dropping some amazing knowledge. In the last few months, he's seen his music streams go up to like 250,000, like well over 200,000 in just the last few months. So if you're not on that level yet, guess what? You have a lot that you can learn from Judah. Let's go ahead and get this interview going. All right. This is the Swim Podcast with special guest Judah Holliday. All right, Swim team, today I am very, very, very happy to have our special guest on the show. You just heard a bit of his bio, but I want you to hear from the man himself. I want you to listen very carefully because this is how you do it. Hey, Judah, hey, man, thank you so much for being on the Swim podcast today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah,
How
for
are
sure.
you guys?
Yeah, man, we're good, man. And we always like having special guests on because we get to hear the insight from someone else in the industry because everyone has their different way of doing things. It seems like you're doing it absolutely big. In fact, I was listening and looking at one of your videos online in your new single, All That I Got Tonight. And I'm looking at the production value of the lyric video. I'm listening to the production value in the actual music, man. So you are clearly doing it like really, really big. And man, yeah, just awesome work. So
thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure, man. So help us understand, right? I'm looking at this track. I'm listening to the track while looking at the video, listening to the track. It is absolutely phenomenal. What drives your creative process? How do you put out such high level quality material?
I do that by partnering with really amazing people. That's literally how I'm able to do that. I realized a long time ago that I think good quality music is a collaborative process. Mm-hmm. I remember before my first collaboration how nerve-wracking it was because I was so caught up in like splits and what to do and being able to like trust somebody else with music. It was like a really hard thing to do. But like then when I collaborated on my first track with just a producer, not even a songwriter, being able to like, hear a song like this, which I wrote this on my friend Kevin Rudolph, who I released my first single with. Like I was on his terrace in Miami, and I wrote this hook, and it was just like a basic song. And then I went into a session with Ill Factor, the producer on this, and like in a matter of minutes, it was like as if he just knew exactly what to do, what to put where, and literally turned the record into this like massive track.
Wow.
So I think that the majority of the reason why both my visual and audio sound the way they do is because like I work with really amazing talent.
Wow.
And it's hard to come by, and it's really hard to do on your own too. And I think that one of the biggest things that have allowed me to advance my career is really being open to sort of like sharing my splits and not worrying so much about the money side of it, but rather doing whatever we can, to make the music as good.
You know what? You bring up an interesting point, because I was actually talking to some of my friends, they're musicians as well, and they have like a major mental hang up on splits or sharing, the songwriting credits or production credits. Because some folks, they just feel like, oh, yeah, I got a hot song and someone's going to steal it from me, or I want to make all the money. But it seems like you're saying that if you can collab with somebody, having that additional input or different a vantage point on how to do something, that everyone can actually win. Am I understanding that right? Or how would you characterize it?
No, it's exactly like that. And I was a very hard-headed like individual in the past, and I didn't see it that way until I saw like the songs side by side. There's just no comparison to how the song would have been if I had solely produced it and put it out myself versus work with someone. So like, there's always going to be people that feel that, there are people who are not deserving of the credits that they get. But the reality is that we're professionals. And in order to put out music that is truly moving and works, you need a group behind it, just like you need a group to perform any major operation or anything like that. Like teamwork is really where it's at in order to, keep in mind there are people sometimes that aren't, teammates, and they try and hog all the glory, so on and so forth. It's just not possible in this music business to do that. Like it's just not possible.
So Sorry, man. I didn't want to cut you off there, but how do you handle a situation where, let's say you have an idea, you have a hook, or you have a concept, and you're trying to collab with someone and you feel like it's getting lost, like your idea is getting lost because others are kind of showing up and maybe kind of steering you away from your idea? How do you manage that? Because, for a lot of us as musicians, we have egos, right? And we're like, hey, I have an idea, I have a concept, I have a vision. So how do you manage that when you feel like you know where you want to take a sound or take a track?
So it depends, really, because you need to think about why are you in the studio, for what purpose. So, for example, if I'm in the studio writing for a record for myself with others, well, then I would be very vocal about the direction I want to take it. Whereas if I'm doing a writing session for pitching a song, I'd be a lot more open-minded to letting this session go wherever it needs to go, because it would be really considered, I wouldn't want to come off like this know-it-all, because the reality is that it's very hard to describe what works. Nobody knows what works, because if you just listen to the radio, there's such a wide variety of smashes out there, from like, from Old Town Road to Senorita to like the Lumineers to, you know what I mean? Like just a bunch of different genres that are all like hitting the top 100.
Right.
So the way I look at it is being able to be part of something that's really massive is something cool for me. And I know that I can't do it on my own. So maybe if I don't like always tell myself, oh no, I know the way, if I'm able to kind of like let go a little bit and allow whatever this writing process is to sort of guide the way and see what happens. Like it's very hard to do, but I tried it a few times and it came out like really amazing. So that's really like what I would do, depending on the direction of the writing session would determine how I would, guide the writers to what I personally want. And then just like if I brought a hook or if I brought the way that it normally is like we'll go into a session and I'll go in with my guitar. If I'm with a singer, something like that, I'll usually just like start on a chord progression. It's very important to like allow each writer to have a period of time to kind of just freestyle without jumping in, because that's how you really are able to catch a vibe and get into like a really good melodic path. And one of the ways of doing that is by sort of like remaining quiet while they're working, and then you go in a circle and allow the next person to do it, and then you just sort of know when something's like hot.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. All right. So help me out with this too, right? So I'm looking at some of your information online here. And by the way, for those of you who are listening, if you can, just go ahead and check out Judah's main page over here. It's judahholiday.com. There's a lot of good material there. There's some videos and things like that. And I'm looking at your bio here, and it's kind of walking through your story and, kind of where you were raised and some of the driving forces for your creative process and your music. One thing I do want to talk about before we kind of go deeper into your story, you operating in the pop genre. There's a lot of people trying to have success in this area. And there's a lot of musicians that are clawing for, attention on playlists and things like that. How do you create that unique sound? I know you talked about the collab aspect of it, but what else do you do or can you bring to the table that will truly set you apart from everybody else that's out there in this genre trying to make it?
I don't write with like an ulterior motive. I don't go into a session or write a song with the intention. This might sound selfish, but songwriting is a very personal process. I don't go into the song saying, let me see if I could write something that other people would like. What I do is I go in and I say, okay, I'm feeling like crap right now, and I need to get a few things off my chest. Okay, I'm going to write this down, and hopefully, and that's literally what happened with all that I got tonight. I was feeling overwhelmed. I was just back from rehab. I literally felt like I needed to get things off my chest and explain how I'm thankful for what I have right now. And how I'm just like, how I was just tired of being, like sick, right. and that's how it came out. I didn't write it with like, do you think that like, I didn't even know who I was going to work with on the production. So I think that one of the things that sets me apart is that I write for myself as a therapy process. And then I hope that people can respond to what I write. I hear a lot of people talking about how they try and write, songs that others can vibe on. It's for me, it's like a very crucial thing to be able to write in a therapeutic way without it being work. The other way is almost like work. For me, this is therapeutic, and I'm lucky that it's good that I have the talent to write catchy melodies and lyrics. So I think that one of the things that is different about me is that I'm attached to the song not because I think somebody might like it, but because it really means something to me, and it's being written as like a way for me to express myself in another language other than English. So
got it. Okay,
that's just like how that's my attachment to it.
Okay, that makes sense, man. So you're in a sense telling your own story versus trying to tell someone else's. And obviously you can tell your story far better than anyone else. And as a result, you are like the absolute master at putting out stuff that just resonates with people because it's organic, it's natural, it's true.
It's also relatable. It's like people go through what I go through on a daily basis. So like I just figured, why not just tell people what I'm going through and hope that they, understand it.
Okay. So for those of us who are not familiar with your story here in the audience, take us a bit deeper, right? So you mentioned things that you're going through. Walk us through the backstory. What's happened in your life that kind of brought you to the point of being able to kind of have these therapeutic, writing sessions and times where you can actually push out really true